Okay, boys and girls, so here's an exciting video. So what I got here is I got a TK-880, a Kenwood TK-880, and what I'm going to do is show you how to make a Kenwood TK-880 into a repeater on the cheap. Now, rather than show you that it works, I'll show you how I did it. Alright guys, so what you're going to need for this type of activity that we're about to do here is you're going to need a computer running the KPG49D software to program one of these Kenwood TK-880s. You're going to need a programming cable, of course, and odds are if you have a Kenwood TK-880, you would have this particular cable and program already. If you don't and you're having trouble finding the KPG49, there's a guy on YouTube that's gotten me out of a whole bunch of jams trying to find software and locate software, and I mean specific activation codes. Some radios have passwords in them and you got to get around the password, so you need an engineering activation code, and like this guy is great. He can find you anything you want, and I have never paid over $20 for software, and it saves you from searching the website for, you know, garbage and getting viruses and all that stuff. You can literally just have him. He probably has it already. You can find him on eBay. He is Ohio Solo Tech. That's his eBay name. It's Ohio_Solo_Tech. And he has tons of software, and if you see something listed, or like I said, you need something like specific down to like you need a specific activation code, this guy is definitely got me out of a lot of jams. It's not a paid endorsement or anything else, just it's a good guy to have in your back pocket. I think his name is Dan, and you know, if you get in a jam, you need some software, you need it fast, he's your guy. So with that being aside, soldering iron we're gonna use for this particular activity. We're also gonna need obviously some solder. They're called biscuits in the telecommunication industry. One of those little Cat 5e jacks. This is going to just use to terminate all our wires. Now, if you're using a repeater controller, if you're, you know, fancy like whoa, and you have a repeater controller, you're not going to need this. I'm using this just because pretty much what we're using is a Cat 5 style cable, and this is a Cat 5 jack, and all's well in the kingdom. And they're cheap. You can find them at the local hardware store if you don't happen to have one kicking around at the house. So rather than show you that it works, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how I did it. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is we're just going to take these screws off the top of this, and we're going to notice that there's some solder pads inside the radio that are unfinished. These solder pads, there's a connector that you can buy that plugs into the board, actually right here, and this is where you would actually plug this stuff in if it was like a legitimate setup. And I always just take this speaker out because I find it to be a hassle, so feel free to take it out or leave it in. But in any case, what we're going to do is specifically we're looking for two solder points. The first one is DEO, and it's kind of up here in this upper corner, and then the other one is SQ. Okay, so DEO and SQ, those are the two solder pads that we're going to isolate here. And we're going to go ahead and take the bottom cover off because we're going to actually make our solder. Our solder is going to be on the other side of this. So what I have here is just a piece of phone line, a phone wire like you'd have in your house, running through your house from like your network interface to your phone jack, and just a regular 14 gauge, I think it's 14 gauge wire. This phone jack is literally, the phone wire rather, is coming in here, and this little power wire here, if this little rubber grommet on here, just pull this right out. It just slides right out, pops right out, and what you can do then is you can run your wire inside there, and you know, if you're worried about you know, if you think something's going to be tugging on the wire or whatever, you can go ahead and tie a knot in it. But I found that just the rubber here and then the cover holding it in there, I've never had a wire pull out. So do that. You're going to then solder it on this side once you get the DEO and the SQ holes filled with your wire there. So you're going to put the wire through this side, you're going to flip it over, and you're going to solder it on this side. And you can see my two solder joints right there. And that's it for inside the radio. We're then just going to take our little phone line here, and we're going to tuck it down into where that power lead was in, and we're going to push this back down in there. And like I said, that usually holds it. If you need to, you can tie a knot before you put it down, and it's going to hold it a little bit more in case you have rambunctious children or something and they want to swing it around like it's a toy. Put our speaker back in. I always use a small flathead screwdriver or something, and I just get it lined up the right way and just tuck it back down in there. And now that you have two wires in there, it makes it even more fun and narrow. But feel free, you can only put this in one direction, it won't go in the other direction. So if you're really fighting with it, try flipping it around. So all my mic's back in. Just pulled it out. Okay, so go ahead and put it all back together. Missing my little orange piece of rubber there. I don't know where it went. So two screws there. I'm gonna flip it over. Put two more screws there. And by the way, just I want to point this out. If you're looking for a radio to have a speaker on, like for example, most of them come on the speakers on the top. Well, if you need it to be on the bottom, this screen, it flips. You can mount that screen the other way. So if you need the speaker to face another direction, you can flip the. You can just unscrew this display and flip it over. It is ambidextrous. So anybody that needed to rotate the speaker to, let's say, the bottom, or if it is on the bottom, put it on the top. That's how you do that. So our speaker's on the top in our case. So okay, everything unwound here. So now what we're going to do is just terminate those two wires that we put in there for the DEO and the SQ. And so my DEO is orange, is on this side. My SQ is blue. I may have that reversed. You may have forgotten once you have put that in there. So I'm going to show you how you can kind of chickadee check yourself here, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to fire up our radio by plugging into a power supply, and we have our unprogrammed radio. Go ahead and open up our crap top and figure out what wire is the wow, how about this? Rats would be happy. Be jealous of my nest. There it is. Huh? How about that? All right, so we have our blank screen here of a whole lot of nothing. And our radio is, of course, unprogrammed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get to the nuts and bolts of how this is going to work. Yes, everything is charging. All right, so first up, what we're going to do is we want to plop a frequency in here. Now, your frequency can be whatever you want. I'm making a GMRS repeater. So I'm going to put a GMRS frequency in here. Now, this radio only receives, or other radio is going to transmit, but besides receiving, this radio is going to be our repeater controller. Now, because we're balling on a budget, we don't actually have a repeater controller. What we need here is something to just key up the transmitting radio. And usually that's a repeater controller. Repeater controllers do neat things like put out IDs and Morse code and all that stuff. this is going to be a trunk box. It's going to, when this radio gets a signal in, it's going to then cause another radio to key up and put that audio out the other radio. So our receive frequency for this is going to be 467.725. So this is a GMRS 725, and we're going to throw it on a tone of 123.0, just because I'm not very smart, and that's a really easy number to remember. So again, we don't need it for the encode because this one does not transmit. Our channel name, you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it receive 725 because I like to party. Okay, none of this stuff here matters because it ain't transmit. So now this is probably going to be the most important thing, is we have to tell those little solder things what to do. Why did we do them? So we're going to go up here to I apologize for shaky phone, but we're going to go up here to edit, and we're going to go optional features. Ooh. And we're going to bring up this here screen. Now this stuff here you can change to whatever you want. Group name, text length. This is the sub LCD is a little numbers on the top, like if you had different groups and stuff like that. We're not doing that. You don't need any of the buttons on the faceplate to work. The actual LCD screen can be smashed. This radio is just going to receive. You're not going to actually look at it. You're not going to touch any buttons on it. It's just going to receive. And unless you want to change your input, which you'd probably be doing in here anyways, you don't need the radio for anything. So all this other stuff, whatever you want to do, power on, text, completely up to you. Signaling is and or. We want to keep it on or. If yours isn't on or, go ahead and put it on or. Mine is already on or. Okay. Next one up is this COM0 microphone jack. That you're going to want on none. So if yours is on any of the other things in here, like REM, get it off of that. COM1 internal port, this one we're going to change to REM. And this one down here, this is COM2. I just always make this auxiliary hook / PTT. It's helped me in the past, so I would recommend putting it on that. Another thing I would recommend doing is anytime you get one of these radios, always check this off Hook Decode. This is, I don't know why that's even an option. I don't know what exactly it does, but I know that it will not discriminate on receiving tone squelch. So if you have a repeater that is on the same, or let's say somebody else keys up on an output of a repeater, and you're even though you have a tone written in there, it's not going to listen to that tone unless you check that. So just for all intent and purposes, whenever you're programming Kenwood radio, check that box. Okay, so now that we've done this, we got this to OR, we got none, REM, and we got auxiliary hook. We're gonna go over here to optional features too. This is where we get into signaling. Now this stuff on the top here doesn't mean anything. This over here is for your press to talk. Again, this radio does not transmit. We don't even have a transmit frequency in there. So don't worry about anything in here except for there's active low, core, and this active low. So first one up is Squelch logic type. Now if you're using a repeater controller, consort with your owner's manual on what type of signal it actually wants. We're not using a repeater controller because again we're poor and we don't have one just laying around. However, we do have one of these Cat 5 Ethernet jacks laying around, and or we picked one up at the local hardware store for a couple bucks. So we're gonna use another radio and not a repeater controller. We're gonna change this from active low to active high. Okay. Now this COR, core, this is carrier operated relay. Now this tells it when it should let the other radio know that it is receiving, or that it should transmit, basically it should key up. If you put a tone up here like we have, 123, 123, this radio will receive 123. If it's on COR, carrier operated relay, it's going to just go ahead and transmit even though the tone is set. If the person isn't on the right tone, it's still going to transmit. If the person isn't transmitting a tone at all, it's still going to transmit. This makes it wide open. So If you change it to TOR, this is tone operated relay. That means that it'll only send the signal to the radio to key up if that specific tone that we put up here is met. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3. So if somebody transmits on 64, 89, whatever other tone, it will not do it. So again, depending on your application, and if you are running a tone and want it to adhere to that tone, you're going to use either carrier operated or tone operated for the relay. This access logic type, this we're going to make, again, in our situation, we're going to make it active high. What this is going to do is it's going to tell the radio to key up, and it's going to deliver the audio not from a preamp like speaker output jack. It's going to take it from right inside the radio and give it right to the other radio. If this is all set and done and you got all that set, go ahead and hit close. And if you have your frequency and your tone and everything's good on there, go ahead and write this to the radio. We're going to hit write data to radio, and hopefully we don't have any errors. Our radio is programming. And there we go. We now have a receiving radio for a repeater. Now, let me go back to my little mic stand here. Hang on. Alright, I just realized I called it a mic stand. I have no idea why I did that. Alright, so we have our radios now programmed. Now, just in the mix, let's say we forgot what we are actually doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little handheld radio like this one here, and
channel mode, frequency mode,
and I'm going to change this to my transmitting frequency, which is the 467, or I should say my receiving frequency, 467.725. So let's do that.
467.725.
And we got to change the tone to 1, 2, 3.
Menu.
And my screen is completely gone here. I don't know if you see that. This particular radio was run over by a bus. Don't ask. And looks like my tone is already in there as 1, 2, 3.
CTCSS.
And
Confirm.
I have 1, 2, 3 on this one as well, because again, I don't remember numbers very well. So here we go. Key this up, and we'll get a green light on here if all is well in the kingdom. Ooh. So there you go. So this radio is now receiving on 123, a tone squelch of 123, and a frequency of 467.725. Now, we want to know if it's going to key up the other radio. So how do we do this? So again, I terminated my two to this right here. Let's say I forgot. I don't know which one I put on what. Okay. So what we're going to do is just grab a any kind of voltmeter, anything that you got that can measure voltage, like this handy one right here. And we're going to put it on, in my case, 25 volts. When I get some at least 12 volts coming out of it because it's a 12-volt radio. We're going to take our negative lead and just ground it here to, got it in the hole of the, where the screw would go for the mounting of it. And we're going to put it on here. And we're going to put it on here. And we're just going to see which one has voltage. So this one here has nothing. When I key up, see how that works? So what that's going to do is that's going to go ahead and give it its signal to key up the other radio. This one here has got audio. So again, transmit, audio. Okay? All right. In this case, since we're balling on a budget here, we're going to terminate this to another TK-880. Let me grab one here. All right, so here I have another unprogrammed radio, and this one is going to be our transmitting radio. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and write the transmit side of things. So get the Operation Shaky Cam going here again. So we have a blank screen and a blank radio, because I like to party. Okay, so this one's going to be our transmit radio, and we're going to be transmitting on 462 because it's 5 megahertz lower. So 462.725, and for this you got to put both of them in for transmit and receive. So transmit is 4, and that's not a 4. This is a 462.725, 5. And if memory serves me, 123.0. And encode it, 123.0. All right, and this one's going to be called TX. Deactivate it. TX 725. All right, now this is going to be important to have your, if you're wideband, if you're narrowband, high power, low power, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. Optional signaling, probably not, because I never heard of a repeater with a identifier, but maybe you'd like to. You can go ahead and change your stuff in here if you want. The only thing I'm going to do is just off Hook Decode, just because it'll drive you crazy if it does screw up and you won't know why, and it's a stupid checkbox deep in the bowels of the software. So the rest of this we're just going to leave. If you wanted to put a timeout, any of that stuff, you know, how long it takes before you can, after, you know, like, let's say it times out at 60 seconds and you want it to wait 10 minutes before somebody can key up again. This is where you'd set all this. This is all preference for you guys to figure out. And same thing with this kind of stuff here. We're not going to change any of this stuff on this particular one. So I'm just going to get out of this, and we're just going to take that, give it the transmit frequency, and rock and roll here. So let's write to radio. And we're programming it, and it's green, which means it's receiving, and cuckoo-ca-choo. This is our transmit radio. All right, let's go back up on the little stand here. Rock on, look at that. Okay, so now we have a transmit radio and a receive radio. And we have told it how to be. Now what I did here, and this is completely up to you, if you're using an ICOM, if you're using a Motorola, whatever your transmit radio is, you're just going to wire the microphone like you would wire a microphone if you were doing anything. You want one wire to be you know, the press to talk, give it that signal, and the one that's going to give it that signal is the one, in my case over here, that when you key it up, it gives you the power. And then of course your audio is going to be the other one. So whatever microphone configuration pin wise your particular radio is, that's what you're going to do. This is a old Kenwood microphone that I don't know if I got hit by a lawnmower or what happened to it, but the one end was completely chewed off, so I am using that. So this is a genuine Kenwood microphone wire that has been savagely beaten and chewed, and I have it wired accordingly to be a transmit and a just realized you can't even see that, sorry, a transmit and a audio wire. I'm going to pop this top of this box on just to make it look somewhat professional and cool. Okay, so let me just stack these up. Pay no attention to that hunk of crap. So let's go ahead and plug the receiving radio into the transmit radio. And I'm throwing a carrier. So stand by. Let's work this one out. Doop, 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 doop. Gonna need my me programming cable back. Now typically if this happens, what this is it's either reverse polarity or one of those active high, active low situation things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read from the receiving radio, which is having the issue, which is telling the other radio to key up even though it shouldn't be. So where am I here? Yes. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take a dummy load. This is just a MFJ something or another dummy load, 300 watt with a 25 watt radio. We should be okay. And I'm going to put this on to the our transmitter here, just so we don't just throw carriers with no antenna until we get this thing figured out. So now that we read this radio, I'm going to go into the let me plug this in so that it gives me the problem. Optional features 2, and I'm just going to play with the active high, active low stuff here. So first one, I'm going to take this and I'm going to make this one active low, close it, and we're going to write to radio and see if that light turns off. Yeah, so that didn't do it. So let's go ahead and change that one back. Optional features, and we're going to change this to active high. We're going to take the top one, Squelch logic, and make that one active low. Close that and write that at a radio. All right, kids, so far so good. My red light is now off. I don't know if you can see that, but it is not transmitting at this point. So what did it was I changed the Squelch logic there. Probably show that to you. That was a mistake on my part. So I changed the Squelch logic. Focus. Okay, so optional features in here. So I made this Squelch logic active low. So probably what would have happened is had we transmitted and the other radio received, it would have stopped transmitting. It would have been backwards. So it would have stopped transmitting when it was receiving a signal, and when it wasn't receiving a signal, then it would transmit. That's what these active high, active low things do. So this top one here, active low. Squelch logic type is going to be active low. So this is one of those wait till the end and get all the instructions before you start. So all right, so now let's actually try this thing out, if we may. So what should happen here, actually I'm going to do this way, is I'm going to transmit. So you got to set this radio up because I'm transmitting on that. But we should, as soon as I transmit on this 467, this one should go green and this one should go red, indicating that this bottom one is receiving and the top one is transmitting. So let's just go ahead and do it, even though I'm not duplex on this one. I'm simplex, but here we go. So what happened was I transmitted on this at 467. This radio received 467, and then it transmitted out on the 462 725. So let's go ahead and let me get this thing here in
Menu.
full duplex.
4, 6, 2, 7, 2, 5.
And then go
Menu.
here. God, I wish you could see this thing. Shift. Yeah, that one. Shift D. No. Shift direction. It's plus. It's off. We want to go plus.
Frequency direction.
Plus. Oh. I can't tell if it's a plus or minus. Off. Minus. They both look the same to me.
Confirm.
I don't know. Let's see. That's what happens when you hit a radio with a bus. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That one.
Confirm.
All right. Let's see if this goes to 467. Beautiful. It did. Okay. And I don't know if you caught that, but it worked. So. And you've seen a little squelch tail on this as well. See how the light goes green for a sec? So that's working. So we have a working repeater here. Let's try the audio. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. So that's how you do it. Now, let me just real fast go over on a scanner on the other side here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is basically test the audio quality now. So we know that it transmits. Now, this is a question of, again, personal preference. If this audio is too loud because we're not getting it from a speaker, so we can't just like take the receive and turn it all the way down and have it be different. This is not going to affect anything because it's getting the audio from inside the radio. It's not getting it from a preamp, a speaker jack, or anything like that. So if it's too loud, what you're going to have to do is in our little box here, you have to put a resistor. So something like just like a 20K, 22K ohm resistor, probably one of these guys here. You could throw something like that in there, and what that'll do is it will drop that audio down. So let's give it a shot with the scanner and hear what it actually sounds like coming out the repeater now. So it's really loud as you hear it squeal. So let me do a test here. Radio test 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. So it's really loud audio. Again, if that's not what you want, if it's too loud, feel free to throw a resistor in line with that. But there you go. That is a working repeater on the cheap. Now, if you want to, let's say you want to put a different radio in here, as long as it's a Kenwood radio, you would literally just unplug this, program your transmit frequency, pop your other radio here. Let's say it's a 45 watt radio. You plug this in and you're good to go. Other optional things that I would maybe suggest is some way to cool this, because these radios are not made for the duty cycle of a repeater that's constantly keyed up. So depending on your repeater and how much traffic it's getting on it, it may overheat and cause the radio to fail. So you know, a good fan system, most people get it wrong, is they mount the fan directly to the cooling fins. What you want to do is kind of put these in a case and have the air blow into the case and blow past these fins, not directly on them. You want to get an airflow on the fins, so it's constantly getting airflow, and that'll cool it a lot more efficiently. But other than that, besides the resistor and the way to cool it, that's about all you need to do. It's a working repeater. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Any questions, by all means, hit me up in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can answer questions. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's probably a lot more people out there that know a lot more about these radios than I do. This is just stuff that I've kind of played around with and got working. So have fun building your repeater on the cheap. This is how I did it, and I'm going to go deploy it now. Thank you. Bye-bye.